What's up, guys? So today we're talking about a CRKT Buku. This is basically like a pocket kukri, folder from Columbia River Knife and Tool. Pretty cool. I definitely have a lot of opinions on this. I've used this quite a bit since I got it. This was gifted to me by a viewer who I talked to on Instagram a while back. Kind of used it on and off in the beginning. Loved it. Wanted to really use it hard because I really feel like this is meant to be a hard use knife. I mean, it's a very broad, thick blade, all stainless steel construction. I mean, it's a chunk. This comes in at 7.8 ounces. All right, it is more on the medium to large size. So, in holding this and, playing around with it, I figure, hey, this is meant to be a hard use knife. Now, that being said, in the beginning, I was very impressed with it. I still like it. I think it's a cool knife, but after really using it, hard use, there's two major drawbacks. The one, which you guys will know right off the bat, is because it's a $40 to $45 knife, it's not going to sport an amazing, super steel. This has an 8CR13 MOV, and I did need to actually sharpen this twice. Two separate occasions. It just dulled out enough where I couldn't even strop it back to, being sharp enough for cutting cardboard and stuff. I had to actually just sharpen it. All right, so the 8CR13 MOV, not a big deal for like a regular EDC knife. I mean, if you know how to sharpen your knives or maintain them, even if you strap it up every now and again, I've had no problem with other, lighter duty knives with real cheap steels. But again, if you're going to use this for hard use, that is a huge drawback because obviously it's going to dull out pretty quickly. The other thing which was super impressive when I first got this thing, I mean, it's hard to really explain how smooth this knife is. The best thing I could tell you is if you have a chrome Zippo, to take it out, put it in your hand, and feel it. Just rub the side of the Zippo. That's literally how smooth this is. It is glass smooth, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's very impressive. Again, for the price tag, less than 50 bucks, you usually don't see that kind of a finish on a knife. If I come in real close, you can see it has kind of a stone wash finish as well. All right, so it's good at hiding little scratches and stuff. And that's all throughout, including the pocket clip here. It's a good looking knife. It has that, kukri style blade here. That's the influence anyway with the overall style. But that super smoothness here, I mean, there's no grip. There's a little bit of jimping here. There's two cutouts. I mean, that's a joke. There's nothing to grip onto there. Completely smooth. I liked it in the beginning. I thought, wow, this is such a well-finished knife. But when you're talking about hard use, not good. You need some kind of grip somewhere. There's not like a crazy handle design either. It's actually pretty versatile. If you have, smaller or larger hands, it's not going to be a problem with this knife. I mean, if you had like huge hands, your pinky might rest here, but I get a full, grip on this knife. No issues there, but I did notice that once I started to sweat a little bit, it's been hot lately. This knife is actually a little bit harder to hold on to. If you grab a knife and you use it for 20 seconds, 30 seconds, there could be any finish. It could be super grippy, it could be super smooth, polished up, doesn't make a difference, right? But if you start using a knife for 5 minutes at a time, 10 minutes at a time, and 10 minutes does not sound long. I'm not talking about holding a knife for 10 minutes. I'm talking about cutting for 10 minutes, all right? You're gonna find out that your blade's gonna dull out pretty fast, or at least faster than your normal, or that you're used to, I should say. And you're really gonna get a feel for if there's any hot spots on that knife or if it's lacking grip. And this is lacking grip. So that cool smoothness that I loved in the beginning, after a lot of use, I found it to be definitely a huge drawback, a huge design flaw for a hard use knife. Now, maybe I'm wrong in that they're just going with the cool design here and they don't mean for this to be a hard use knife, but I'm kind of thinking they were. So you'd have to ask Lucas himself why he designed this knife, if he meant for it to be hard use or not, but I'm pretty much sure that it was going in that direction, being a kukri style blade. Again, just being such a big knife. If you took this exact finish and you put this on a little gentleman's knife, awesome, amazing. In fact, I would love to see this exact same finish, the same frame lock, everything about this knife is cool, unless you start using it a lot. And that's what I did. I actually use this a lot, and I found it to be a huge negative, being super smooth and having such a cheap steel. All right, for a lot of people out there who just, you casually carry knives, you like collecting them, that's cool. And blade steel usually doesn't matter in those cases, but when you're talking about something where you're using a knife for a profession or, as part of your job, or if you use a knife all the time around the house, that's when, the better steels really do matter, because you don't want your knife to get dull right in the middle of a cutting job. And I can tell you that, for years now, I've used cardboard boxes that I get for packages, and I give Gus spring water. The tap water where I live is fine to drink, but I don't know. I love Gus to death, and who cares if it's, it costs me, I think, $1 every 2 or 3 days for water for him to get the jugs. But I end up with a lot of empty plastic jugs, water jugs. So I use those for cutting medium as well, besides the cardboard. But lately, because the truck is out of commission, I'm used to taking the truck down to a dump to throw out my garbage. I don't put my garbage to the curb. But now I am putting my garbage to the curb, and that means consolidating it even more. So I'm using knives even more than I ever have before. And this was one of the first ones that got a real good beating. And that's the stuff I noticed, when you're really using a knife that hard. I'm talking, 5-10 minutes straight of cutting. It's starting to slip in my hands, the blade's getting dull, and then I'm starting to notice those things, So as far as opening and closing this, you can see there's a opening slot, let's call it, or opening hole of sorts. You can open this slower. It has a pretty strong detent on this, so you do need a little bit of thumb strength to get that out slow. The idea, I guess, with a stronger detent is it builds up pressure, so when it finally pops, if you're trying to flick this out, it gives you a lot more momentum. All right, so it is, easy to flick out. Basically, just stick your thumb meat in there and push outwards. All right, it does flick out nice and fast, and it does lock up super strong, which is nice. As far as the pocket clip, well, actually, before we get there, let's look at the centering. Even with a lot of use on this knife, it is still perfectly centered, which is actually very impressive for a cheaper or more affordable knife. The pocket clip, it's funny, it makes me laugh because this is a huge chunky knife and it's very heavy, and they have this little tiny, fold over pocket clip. It's like a deep conceal style, but it's obviously not, mounted in a deep conceal way. I love this pocket clip. It actually works totally fine. I don't think it really goes with this knife. Visually, it seems like, a bigger pocket clip would have looked nicer. But I actually really like it. It functions 100% perfectly fine because there's no texturing underneath here. It doesn't grab the pans too strong or anything. It does hold it in place where it's supposed to be. Nice large lanyard hole as well on this. As far as like some specs, 4.75 inches closed, 8.25 inches open. And again, if I didn't already say it, that blade is 3.75 inches. I like the knife a lot until I really used it a lot. All right, if that makes sense. So if you want like just something a little bit different, if you are a huge fan of the kukri style blades, this is a cool little knife. I mean, it has so much going for it, but because I feel like it was designed for heavy use, that's how I used it. And I was disappointed in the end. The blade performance just was lacking, as you can imagine, because of that steel choice. And the handle being so smooth was so cool in the beginning, but after a while, it just got old because it started getting slippery. But, for some reason, I still like it. I still think it's a very well-built knife for the price point. So even though I was pretty disappointed with the overall performance of this, because when you're using a knife hard, the two things you want is for it to stay sharp and you want to be able to be comfortable holding it. And I missed out on both of those with this knife. But for lighter use, I mean, it's pretty cool. There's just something about it I like. I think it's just the finish, honestly. This finish is so smooth and so comfortable. If you're just doing light cutting tasks, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if they can make this knife for 50 bucks or less, man, I would love to see the exact same features, same finish and everything, just in a different overall knife pattern. Something smaller, same pocket clip, same frame lock design, same finish, even the same steel. It's just, a lighter duty, design, I guess. But yeah, that's the CRKT Buku. It is definitely a handful. It's a chunk of metal. I mean, it's an all steel knife. But yeah, it lacks the performance at the end of the day. I know a lot of people crap on like CRKT and even regular Kershaw's outside of ZT. I mean, for some reason ZT is like God, but Kershaw's stink. I don't think so. There's a market for everything. There's a lot more people out there that are buying $20 and $30 Kershaw's and CRKTs than there are people buying ZTs. So I know you might disagree, but that's just because you're on YouTube and you see a lot of people talking about ZTs. What you don't see are the thousands of people going to Walmart, buying a $15 Kershaw knife and never talking about it on the internet. But yeah, I mean, cheap knives are always going to be around there, so it's good to see what the options are out there. And especially for people who are into knives but don't have those big bucks to spend, I will always have an appreciation for affordable cutlery, whether they perform or not. In this case, this is not performing how I wanted it to, But you have to consider the price point and what you're getting for that. Overall, the fit and finish is really phenomenal for the price. It's just because of the blade steel is cheaper, the performance wasn't there. So that's it. The only real flaw here would be, how smooth it is for a harder use knife. But there it is. Let me know your opinions down below if you happen to have this knife. Let me know if you think I'm right, if I'm wrong, and what you think about it. I love to get the feedback, specifically like on the knife I'm talking about, because people's opinions, of course, do differ. And if you're considering buying this, don't just take my word for it. Don't not buy it because of what I said. Don't buy it because of what I said. Get opinions from a variety of people and sources before you make a decision with your hard-earned money. But those are my opinions, and that is from actual real-life usage. It's just, it was super, super cool for light duty, and then once I started using it hard, it went downhill, for me anyway. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.